be where he lives. The perfect little arch of an entrance in the baseboard. The bed made out of a curled back sardine can. The spool of thread for a table. I start thinking about how hard the mouse had to work night after night, collecting all these things while the people in the house were fast asleep. And that gives me a very strong feeling, a very powerful sense of something. But I don't think anyone else was feeling that. Maybe that was just me. Maybe that's just the way I read it. Today is a day where all of our colleagues across the university are sharing their stories, their teaching stories, their learning stories, their administering stories. And those stories benefit our students. We have dedicated colleagues who really think long and hard on how we can best help our students excel. Again, welcome to Hostos, and I would like to bring my president on so that he can welcome you. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. For those of you that don't know me, I'm David Gomez, and it is my privilege to serve as the president here of Eugenio Maria de Hostos Community College, my first home where I began in 1974 and have been privileged to be invited back to serve. And welcome to the 2016 Q Conference, Walk the Talk, Inspiring Action on the Concourse and Beyond. The only thing that is constant is change. Heraclius said that over 2,000 years ago, and it's as true now as it was then. We witness it daily as citizens and educators. Methods of effective education alter with time and technology, but our animating principle remains the same. If we do better, our students do better. If we fully utilize our intellectual, technical, and economic resources, will have a greater effect on our students. Achieving that effect involves the coordinated efforts of individuals and institutions, but it all begins with ideas, with visions, with the desire for improvement and ever greater achievement. In short, it begins with those ideas. Walk the Talk comprises a thought-provoking array of discussions, presentations, and talks that examine the multitude of issues surrounding effective teaching and demonstrate the variety and quality of responses to those issues. I am truly impressed with the scope and breadth of today's program, and I believe you will be too. Given today's focus on the intersection of education and technology, one couldn't ask for a better keynote speaker than Mr. Antonio Bone. President of Gaucho College, Dr. Bone has distinguished himself both here and abroad as an innovative educator, an award-winning composer, a highly regarded jazz musician, and a respected music critic. Obviously, a man of music. He is a pioneer of active learning and the use of technology in the classroom and holds 4 degrees, luckily, from Stanford University, which honored him as a distinguished fellow in 2019. Bone is the author of Teaching Nature, How Moving Technology Out of the Classroom and Improve Student Learning. Educator and scholar changing the intelligence book. Everyone who is concerned with the future of higher education should read it. Compiling readable and lively styles learn using the most intelligent arguments found in the content about how you can shape teaching and learning in emerging technology. It is also a powerful guide to more effective teaching and real-world application. It is also a privilege this morning to welcome a special guest, speaker, Dr. Vito Ragazzi. He is the Executive Vice President and Executive Program for
CUNY Provost and Executive Vice Chancellor, Dr. Ada Levinde, who will be introduced by Hostos Professor Theo Raya. Please join me in welcoming them on stage.
Technical difficulties, but we'll get through this.
I feel hesitant talking about my legacy because nothing is accomplished at Hunter College or anywhere without a village. I've been at Hunter since 1978. Its provost for 10 years, up till 10 months ago. What I would like to think of as my legacy or something that I know I tried to move forward are in 3 areas. As provost, you're basically responsible for faculty, academic programs, and student success, especially academic success. In the area of faculty, I am of that faculty. I love that faculty, and I think that we hired stupendous faculty in that era. Something I institutionalized was no faculty got hired without a startup package to show our investment in that faculty and the fact that we wanted them to succeed and we expected them to succeed. Faculty development was important to me for research, later for assessment, because I saw that was necessary. So hiring, retaining, and advancing a great faculty. Academic programs, again, all I played was a facilitating role, but it was a wonderful era of new academic programming at the undergraduate level. We grew the Macaulay Honors program, but that was easily as much President Rabb as it was me. We leveraged Macaulay to develop other honors programs. Develop programs in public policy and human rights that our students loved. And student success. And again, President Rabb was the leader here, but Hunter had a dismal 6-year graduation rate in 2005. Around 6-year graduation rate at the great Hunter College of around 37–38%. Which meant truly that Hunter was not adding enough value because our incoming students were terrific. That graduation rate was raised 14 percentage points. Again, it was a group effort. So I don't know that I would call that my legacy, but I would like to think that I was part of a terrific team with a great VP for Student Affairs, great chief operating officers, a dynamic, visionary president, and it was a great run at Hunter College. I loved it there, yes.
Well, thank you. What was one of the most challenging moments at Hunter?
There were a lot of challenging moments, but certainly the financial crisis of 2000 that hit us hard in 2010 was serious. But for this audience, I think I'm going to talk about pathways. Pathways hit the entire university hard. I'm not breaking any news here. At many of the senior colleges, there was the feeling, and I can't speak for community colleges, again, I was of the senior colleges at the time, there was the feeling that Pathways, the entire initiative was top-down, that it was a threat to faculty autonomy, that it was a threat to academic integrity, because it was essentially the central office, the Board of Trustees, mandating the general education curricula, which is crucially important to the identity of some colleges, certainly of Hunter College. Hunter College, in fact, we had just received a $500,000 grant from the Mellon Foundation to re-envision our gen ed, and 2 years into that grant, Pathways hits. I felt it was a challenge for me personally and professionally for a few reasons. Again, I was of this faculty, I knew how they felt, that they felt it was a betrayal, that they felt it was an outrage. And not to a person, but I must say that was the dominant feeling, including of people that I respected. I knew that, I believed strongly that it was going to prevail, and my president and I believed that our students, that Hunter needed to be ready to flip that switch in fall 2013 and offer a Pathways compliant gen ed curriculum with integrity, with enough seats, with our full-time faculty teaching it, etc. And I also knew something else, that I knew that the central office, I knew that my predecessor, whom I respect very much, EVC Hogue, I knew the reasons why the Pathways Initiative was being implemented, and it was because of the beyond disappointing experiences, the heartbreaking experiences sometimes, of transfer students. I am ashamed to say, when I became provost at Hunter in 2005, I did not know, even though I spent my entire career there, I didn't realize that 60-some% of our graduating seniors were transfer students. Of course I knew Hunter was full of transfer students, but I had no idea the percentages, and did not know until I assumed that office how difficult their experience was getting courses from community colleges. Good courses they were told would be accepted by senior college, getting them slapped away, having to repeat courses. In any case, the central office was responding to the fact that transfer students generally, community college transfer students in particular, were not being accommodated. The senior colleges were literally not built for them, even though, again, they were most of our students. The focus was on first-time, full-time freshmen, their SAT scores, their experiences, their opportunities. So what I recognized was, as provost, I recognized the validity of this central office concern. I recognized the feelings of, the perceptions of the faculty, and I felt like it was my job to represent the central office to the faculty to the central office, to keep my president informed and with us. And what we did, Rocio, essentially was this. I worked closely with the faculty to the point where I yielded my leadership to the leadership of two extraordinary people. I said, listen, our students are going to be expected to opt into pathways come fall. We need a framework with integrity, and we need to be able to put on those programs by that time. Develop a framework. Bring it to me. It's yours. I will submit nothing to the central office without it going through all organs of governance. That's my promise to you. Your promise to me is that you've got this. Fortunately, the head of our Senate, the remarkable philosopher Krista Akampora, the head of the Gen Ed Senate Subcommittee, now chair of chemistry at Lehman College, Pam Mills, approached this. They never betrayed my trust. I never betrayed theirs. We consulted like crazy. I was at every meeting, but not in the lead. They knew, and I knew, it was important for the faculty to see that the faculty were in the lead, and that I was a partner, but not running the show. And again, it was, I had to promise my president we would be ready, and the truth is I wasn't controlling the process. But Hunter College was the first senior college to deliver a pathways compliant framework that impossibly, and I think frankly, not fully, I think the framework was not entirely pathways compliant, but it was dazzling. It managed, and it's been fixed since then, but it managed to incorporate what was best about Hunter's Gen Ed. And I think that, Hunter cared about 12 credits of pluralism and diversity. They cared about 9 credits of writing intensive courses. They cared about a foreign language requirement that was the densest in all of CUNY, 12 credits of foreign languages, as well as math, science, English, comp, all the rest of it. We managed to get that into 42 credits, or my faculty managed to do that. When the president heard that our college option was the foreign language requirement, she gulped hard. That would not have been her choice, but to her credit, after I said, please let it be, that is the will of the faculty, and it is the will of the science faculty as much as the language faculty. Our process it was not joyful. It was not joy. I don't want to say, it wasn't easy. There was a grim determination about it. Sort of, this is Hunter's way. We will deliver. We will deliver our way. But I was just so proud to be a part of it, is all I could say.
What did you learn from that experience that you were able to apply to other challenges or challenges that presented themselves after?
Well, I hope I learned a lot, because there will be challenges, and some of them that look like pathways type challenges now that I'm the one in the central office. Something I never foresaw in 2011 or 2013. What I think I learned is you've got to treat people like allies, even if you're not sure that they are. We've got to trust the faculty, and we hope that the faculty trust us. The truth is, and you've got to make your case. You've got to be willing to make your case as if you're talking to partners, to reasonable people who listen. You also have to be willing to compromise. But know what you cannot compromise away. For example, Rocio, I think the challenge of my time in this year is to help fix remediation policy and practice at CUNY. And there are some things that, thank you. This is not a problem I appreciated at all at Hunter College, where there is no remediation. But from a university-wide perspective, I see that it's the biggest barrier to student success that I know of. So again, must trust the faculty, the Math Discipline Council, the English Discipline Council, the Writing Discipline Council, must consult with the DOE, the Chancellor, the senior staff, the provost, the presidents. And it can sound like, oh my God, these endless consultations, and you know, they're paralyzing and they don't go anywhere and people don't agree with you and they may mobilize against you. But I do believe that in the academy, this is how you make progress. What I need to do is make the case. The case is there to be made. Make the case, keep making the case, keep listening and making the case stronger, and admit that what you're committed to ultimately is the solution to the problem. What you're committed to is assigning fewer students than we do to remediation, providing better coursework, helping more of them succeed and exit remediation and actually get degrees. We're all committed to that. So let's focus on that. The ways we do it may change. The next university vice chancellor, whatever the hell I am, the next person in my chair will, you know, may see something different, but we need to solve this problem for this time.
Thanks. Yes, we at Hostos Community College definitely agree. So
That's
we look forward to
wonderful.
working with you.
No,
Thank
I
you
look
so
forward
much.
to working with you.
Thank you
Thank
so
you
much.
with all of you. Thank you, Lucy.
Thank you, Vice Chancellor. Now, the interviewer becomes the interviewee. Professor Rayo, in the Hostos Media Design Program, will be interviewed by Hostos student Carlos Advincola Jr. Let's give them a warm welcome, please.
How you doing, Professor?
Wonderful, thank you.
Okay. First question. What was life for you as a student, and did something transpire that made you decide to teach the next generation of hosters?
My life for me as a student, I came back at 28 after several false starts at a variety of universities. And I'm a mom, and I was poor. And I thought, how am I gonna be able to give my son the kind of life that I want and that I had as a child? And so I realized I had to go back to school. And so I applied to CUNY, and I Googled the closest CUNY to my zip code, which was Hostos Community College, and here I am. At that point was on welfare and received various state subsidies, and so while I got accepted to City College, I was told I couldn't go without losing some of my help that I desperately needed, like food stamps and childcare. So they told me that I could come to Hostos, and I came to Hostos, and my first week here, I was here about 7 times because I didn't know I needed a shot for this, and I didn't know I needed official transcripts, not copies, and then I found out about COPE, which helped me get through 2 years here, and then I found out I could get my teeth cleaned for free. And and I remember calling my mom and being like, the universe sent me where I'm supposed to be, and I realized that I had a voice that was very different than the one I thought I had, and my entire life changed. What I wanted out of life, who I thought I was, how I identified, everything changed because of the people that I met here, professors, students, staff. People began seeing me differently than I saw myself, and I realized that I wanted to be the person that they saw.
All right. So next question. At times I hear students say that they're not comfortable talking about their personal life with professors. So what advice do you have for students, faculty, and staff of CUNY?
Well, you know, it's tough. I think that there's a delicate balance of power that happens in the classroom, and I think that our executive vice chancellor put it very nicely when she had to work with faculty, that you have to treat people like allies. I think that oftentimes as professors, there is a power dynamic that happens where we have to maintain control of a classroom, but maintaining, you know, there's sort of two ways to maintain control, and that is one from being at the front and sort of top down, and then there's another one where you sort of get in the middle and are able to treat your students as histrionic as it sounds, as human beings. And I've often had classes where I sat and I thought, I have no idea the words that are coming out of this professor's mouth, and I have a pretty expansive vocabulary, but I don't understand what they're saying. And I think that as professors, we have to meet people where they're at, and that means vocabulary, that means you know, various levels of reading and writing skills, and it's not only about us pushing our own agenda, but making sure that we are taking students from where they are to as close as we can to where we want them to be. And students really react to that. And so one of the things that I do that I think works really effectively is I tell people to call me by my first name. And I often sit, you know, we flip the classroom, so instead of me sitting at the front, creating a circle where I sit in the back. Little shifts in power, little allowances for students to be in control. Sometimes I'll allow a student to facilitate the class. One of my assignments is to meet me in my office hours and just sort of be able to talk to people as not the professor, but as a Hostos graduate who, where you will be soon. And it deconstructs some of that power and some of those boundaries, and then people are able to speak, and I think most importantly be heard.
So, final question. If you announced your retirement today, how would you want your students to remember you by?
I think I'm still working on that. I would like my students to remember me as someone who was able to navigate that delicate balance of control and power, but also entitlement of control as a student. I would like my students to remember me as someone who loved their job and cared about them and really wanted to do for them what my professors here did for me. My first semester here, I met my two, who have been my two academic mentors, Professor Shad and Professor Iolongo, and I remember the first time they told me that I was a good writer, or the first time they told me I was a good student, and I thought, well, I tricked them. Maybe I can keep going. And so it feels really good to be able to tell a student that they're good at something that they've never heard they've been good at before. And so I hope that students will remember me as an empathetic, compassionate human who was here to help them build the tools and build the resources that they needed to succeed.
Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Raya. And finally, our graduating senior, Carlos, will will be interviewed by Hostos student Raquel Melendez, both of whom are liberal arts and sciences majors, to hear about his experience. Welcome, students.
Good morning. Okay, so for the first question, Carlos, you are very well known by students, staff, and faculty. Tell me about your involvement at Hostos and what this college means to you.
First off, when I didn't want to come to Hostos. Everybody was saying that there's nothing here, it's a small college. But my parents told me that this college is like a gold mine, so there's opportunities everywhere. So the moment I stepped foot into Hostos, I was flooded with a lot of opportunities. I was the vice president and secretary of the Christian Club. I opened a club with my brothers. I was a student government senator. All three of my brothers and I, we came here. Two of them is upstairs getting ready for finals. One of them is an usher, he's over there. Like, Hostos is always full of life, is always full of activities. So there's always something on the bridge or in the cafeteria, and I always like to volunteer, or something's going on in the library, I like to study there. It's just always full of life, it's very energetic, and I love it.
Okay, now, as students, we constantly face challenges. What is one of the greatest challenges you have faced as a Hostos college student, and how has it impacted you?
Okay, so everyone is always thinking about graduation, getting the cap and gown, seeing your pictures. But, you know, I'm getting close to the end of my journey here. So this took place last semester. I'm coming home from school with my brothers. We walk into our apartment and our mom has a distressed look on her face. And we asked our dad what's wrong with her. He hands us an envelope and we open it and it's an eviction letter. So that immediately hit me like hard. Oh, I'm getting ready to graduate, but then we find out we're about to lose our home. So it took place. Sometimes management. We used to live in NYCHA, New York City Housing Authority. There was no heat or hot water, so my parents were like, "There's a lot of senior citizens and children there." They went to management and told them that you need to provide these services for them. They were like, "Okay, we'll get to it when we're ready." And when they didn't, they constantly went back to management. "Excuse me, you need to give them to the children, the seniors." But they were like, "Okay, how about this? Just mind your business and just forget about it." So what my parents did, they went to the media, Telemundo, Univision, New York Times, and everything. And little by little, management started getting tired. They were like, worry about yourselves. But our parents were like, we weren't concerned about ourselves. It was the seniors and the children that they needed the hot water and the heat. So, and every time we would come home from school, our mom was scared or crying because sometimes management would come on the door and bang it and threaten them, like, "Stop or we'll get the marshals and we'll kick you out." And it was hard. Sometimes it was hard for me to focus in class because I always stepped out of my class to see if they're all right and if we were still there. So for 2 years, they took us to court, and then one of our lawyers that we got from Single Stop here, they told us that they paid the judge under the table, and we got evicted. So on June 30th, we had to give everything away, and we just walked into the shelters with only the clothes on our back.
Okay, now this is a very difficult predicament. How did you maintain your academic success? I know you wrote 2 books, you have a podcast, and you work. How did you manage?
I just, thank God, my family, and a lot of people here. For class, I always am a morning person, so I always took class in the morning. After that, I did some club stuff, or I would participate with the Leadership Academy. It was, for me, I didn't like staying over there in the shelter, because we used to live in one shelter in Jamaica, Queens. We're currently now in Far Rockaway, Queens. So the environment there is not good. So people are always telling us, why are we here so early? We're here sometimes 7 or 8 in the morning, and then we leave here when the college is closest. So we would take our classes there, Sometimes we would stay there and do homework. The environment in the shelter was bad. Sometimes there were fights break out. There was one occasion a couple came up to my brothers and I and asked if we wanted to purchase some drugs. We told them no. And sometimes people would look at us because there's 4 of us in college, and some would give us threatening looks, but we just ignore them. The environment wasn't good. Right now where we live in the shelter is, my brothers and I are on the 5th floor and our parents are on the 2nd floor. We can't visit each other, so that right there is not good because we're always so close. So that's why we're always here in Hostos, sometimes from morning to all the way to closing.
Okay. Well, Carlos, many of the people in the audience are probably shocked to hear your story. You're always walking around on campus with a positive attitude and a smile. You're one of the most optimistic people I know. What kept you motivated mentally, and what advice can you give students with similar circumstances?
Positive. It's just Hostos. It's warm here. You know, we have professors all over here. We have Shad, who's always smiling. Miss Sandy Figueroa. We have the library. Career services is always ready. It's just a lot of people. Jason Litfield, the theater people, Felix. When I walk in every morning, you know, public safety greets us saying good morning, how you doing? The janitors, everybody here. So there's no really reason why to come inside like all mopey. Like, there's people who really love you here. So, and I tell students, don't just come here to take classes and go straight home. You know, take advantage of stuff here. You know, join a club, talk to your professors. You know, find a mentor. There's a lot of mentors here that are willing to open doors for you. Talk to them, talk to Single Stop. If you're going through what I'm going through right now or something else, Single Stop can help. If you're looking for a job, career services there. If you want to expand your career, go to the department and sit down with them and ask them, how can I further myself in life? And they'll definitely help you. They're not gonna, turn their back on you. They're gonna really help you. And that's why I love Hostos. There's a lot of people who have big hearts here, and they want the best. They always say, like, big things come in small packages. You know, it's a small college, but there's a lot of stuff here.
That's great. So for the final question, please tell us how are you now, and has anything changed for you?
Okay, so I signed the contract for my next book this week. Yesterday we saw our apartment, so we're going to be in 161st Street, Yankee Stadium, so that's one stop away from the college. So we're excited. We're going to get the keys hopefully next week, so we're really excited, and graduation is June 2nd, so I can't wait.
This is great. Thank you.
Thank you.
How about that? Inspired? Well, thank you all to all of our speakers for such inspiring stories. I hope that each of our guests found this as insightful and motivational as we had hoped. Thank you again for being a part of this important event, and we hope that you enjoy the rest of the conference. Thank you.
Well, I just want to remind you that the concurrent sessions begin at 10:50. We're in the C building, and the C building on the 5th floor and 4th floors, you can take an elevator up. And the B building rooms, you can either go to the 5th floor and go to the other building. There's like a bridge. If it's not raining, you can go outside and go to the next building and take an elevator up to the 5th floor of the B building. So what I would like you to do is really look through the workshops that are being offered. And we are running ahead of schedule, believe it or not. We thought that the segment would be a little longer, but I think it was definitely setting the tone, you know, about the kinds of challenges people are experiencing and overcoming, and using it to inform the way in which they proceed. So, are there any questions? Does anyone have any questions or comments about the rest of the day? Okay, thank you. All right, so I think there's still food out in the lobby if people want to catch them.